Feel alive, let's hit the dance floor. Don't work too hard, might break a backbone. Return of the Mac, the king is back though. Corvette and cash, I never lack those. She saw the stone, you know how that go. Fatality, my diamonds that cold. Versace trunks, I hit my backstroke. Knock on the door, she at the back row. All I really take is a little taste. Island girl, blue eyes with a little bass. Here for the thrill, I don't need a chaser. Wanna vibe at the getaway. Shimmy, shimmy, yeah, I got the semi-four weight. Don't step out the line like this a probate. You hit the line and try to locate. This for the time, got time for no day. One, too many, I'm going. Too crazy and I got bad ones and they ready. A good time, so now it's into it, we left that. Can't remember anything, but I know we got lit. Good times, live in the moment, feel like summertime. Obsessed with nature, not a world mine. The room is spinning, but I feel fine. Oh my. Chandelier, limousines. Really think I'm seeing things. Read the line in between. Yellow light, I gotta speed up. Get home to a cold shower. Need that pronto. Look like a rave at the condo. Heck of a night in Toronto. She said, boy, you in Morocco. Pearl white mention in the top gold. Fill up my cup with the pop, whoa. High off life in the spot, though. Running up the visa, really talking to a real life Mona Lisa. Jesus pieces hanging off the fleecer. So much going on, it's hard to focus on the features. I got one, too many, I'm going. Too crazy and I got bad ones and they ready. A good time, so now it's into it, we left that. Can't remember anything, but I know we got lit. Good times, live in the moment, feel like summertime. Obsessed with nature, not a world mine. The room is spinning, but I feel fine. Oh my, oh my. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Good evening and welcome to TEDxChilliwack. We'd like to acknowledge we are on Soltamuk, the traditional territory of the Stalo people, the people of the river.
Sandra Bonner-Peterson is here to welcome us.
Aeswail, Ethlot Quilmuck Tilsqui Talisal Quachiactal. Good day, my traditional name is Ethlot, my given name is Sandra Bonner-Peterson. I am a leader for my community at Chiacton First Nation, and I would like to welcome everybody to the Stalo territory. I raise my hands up and welcome.
Thank you, Sandra. I'm Michael Berger. I work as a program director for currency marketing and as the community manager at Chilliwack. In my non-work time, amongst other things, I'm a proud member of the Rotary Club of Chilliwack, and I've been an occasional stage performer doing musicals with secondary characters and improv comedy alongside Mary.
I'm Mary Erickson. I'm a marriage commissioner here in Chilliwack, and this is my 4th year co-hosting with Michael. Our TEDxChilliwack theme this year is clarity.
Wasn't our 2020 theme clarity?
Yes, it was. And it was 2021's theme as well. But you know how COVID's affected everything? Well, it's affected us too. We had to delay both 2020's and 2021's events, which leads us to TEDxChilliwack 2022.
Our speakers tonight were originally chosen way back in the fall of 2019. And unfortunately, some of the speakers selected then were not able to join us tonight. But we have 4 fantastic speakers here to enjoy.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, what is TEDx?
TEDx was created in the spirit of TED's mission, Ideas Worth Spreading. It supports independent organizers who want to create a TED-like event in their own community.
All TEDx events present multiple issues and a diversity of voices from many disciplines. Our organizing committee was dedicated throughout the year to make sure TEDx 2022 happens. And thank you to the volunteer organizing committee for getting us up and running again.
Thank you to visionary partners, Currency Marketing, Cowork Chilliwack, Scott McVetti of Remax NIDA Realty, Chill TV, and the 18th Camel.
Let's go to our first speaker tonight.
With new age technology, kids are able to play games and learn sports in ways their coaches and parents couldn't even dream of. But with today's digital information and kids' attention spans being at 7 seconds long, what truly is the best solution to turn good athletes into great athletes? Let's find out from Steve Kroner.
When I told people I was doing a talk about Sporty Kid and Gamer Kid, a guide to connect and not judge or reject, people wanted the information and they wanted it now. My name is Coach Steve, and I've been a coach for 20 years, coaching kids on how to kick, catch, or pass a ball. But today I'm going to enlighten you into the mindset of the Sporty Kid and the Gamer Kid so you can have the clarity for the confidence they deserve. Now let's get into it. Put down the controller. All you ever do is play video games all day and all night. Come on, run quicker. Be better. You're better than this. Now, does that sound a bit familiar? I hope not too familiar, because I truly believe parents have great intention, but sometimes their delivery just sucks. And we grew up at a time when, sports was a lot more simple. There was no gold team here. There was no silver team here, this high league team here. It was basically sports after school. And when it came to video games, Pong, Tron, and Donkey Kong ruled the gaming world. So today, I ask, why do we put our kids in sports? Is it so that they can become the next professional athlete? It would be nice, But probably not. Isn't it just to gain some confidence, meet some new friends? And why do we put our kids in technology, into gaming? Is it to become the next Elon Musk? That would be nice as well, but most likely not. Wasn't it just to learn something new, get some knowledge, and play with some friends as well? Absolutely. You know, as a football coach and a soccer coach, I get a lot of parents coming up to me talking about anxiety and depression. And I must admit, my daughter went through bouts of anxiety when she was younger that lasted for days, and it felt like months. And my son also went through bouts of depression because when we moved from one city to the other city, he lost some friends. I will say to this day now in their teenage years, they've been able to get the clarity that they needed so they could have the confidence to get through those tough situations. A few months ago, my son was able to talk to a professional gamer, an actual pro gamer. He was enthralled. This gamer talked to him about the commitment stage in gaming. He explained to my son that, playing with your friends online is actually not training. When you're actually training towards a game, when you're learning and you're playing with others, it's generally taking you hours and days to learn a specific tactic, to learn a specific move that you can use in an esports tournament to win thousands of dollars. My kid was just amazed. He did not know it took that much commitment. And when it comes to soccer, our kids were able to get in front of some of the best coaches in our city who not only helped them with their physical side of their game, but with their mental side, which really helped with the confidence that they needed. Now, why am I here? My story goes, I was picked last at recess. And I know everybody here has a story that they were either teased or bullied when they were younger, and they wanted to quit. And I stand up on this stage today to tell you not to quit, and not to quit on your team, on your kids. There's so many choices out there for parents to put their kids in specific sports and specific games. But what are they? How do we know what to give them, to information that they need to get the clarity that they need? When we think about sports, there's a lot of sports out there that are causing a lot of concussions and a lot of sports that are not helping with the advancement of the child. And when we're talking about video games, there's a lot of games out there that are actually affecting the kids for hours on end and causing mental challenges for these kids and mental issues that are just not stopping at one level. They're going to the next level and the next level. So what can we do as parents to help these kids? My first thought for you guys is to find some solutions. And I'm going to say it in a way that hopefully makes sense in stages. And the first stage I want to talk about is the sampling stage. Now, this is supposed to be the most fun stage for the kids because it happens when they're 6 and under. And generally, it's a sampling stage of a sport that the parent once played or wanted to play. And so now these kids get to play this sport and have fun and not worry about being judged so much. And here's a tip. In this stage, let your kids play ball in the house. I know a lot of people don't want their kids to play ball in the house, but when they're 6 and under, you're pretty safe. Just make sure that you put away anything that's breakable. And in our house, second tip, just don't break it in front of mom. Another thing I'd like to recommend when it comes to the gaming side, someone asked me, well, is it okay for my kid to game 3 or 4 hours straight? And I said to them, well, do you think it's right if a kid played soccer for 3 or 4 hours straight? Probably not. So in that sampling stage, just make sure they're having fun because it leads immediately to the second stage, which is about 7 to 11 years old, and it's called the specialization stage. And at this stage, this is where the parents are on the sidelines going, ooh, my kid's pretty good. And the kid's thinking, hey, I'm really good at this. And you start going, oh, as a parent, you start talking on the sidelines. But be real careful about the talk on the sidelines because if you think the water cooler talk is bad at work, the talk on the sidelines can bring down a team faster than a wink of an eye. So a tip for you is that if you want your kid to truly enjoy being on the field, when he's out there or she's out there, don't start yelling at them. Just encourage them and enjoy being there. And the second tip is after a big loss or a big win after a game, don't talk about the game. Just let it go for a little while. Just let them know that you love them and you were so very proud of watching them because kids won't always remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. And when you get to a situation with gaming at this stage, this is where kids start to learn technology actually quicker than we can. So what I find is that at this stage, to stop sort of the rage moments, if they're playing a video game and they're getting all upset and they're getting all worked up, come sit down next to them. Sit down next to them, pull up a chair, and start asking them questions and be engaged, because that's really what they want. They want someone there they can share that experience with. And now to the final stage, the commitment stage. And then, yes, this is about when you're 12 to 18 years old. In this stage, you're starting to really know if you're good at a sport or good at a video game. And throughout these stages, at this stage, there are plenty of options for tournaments, for sport tournaments and esport tournaments, which generally dents the pocketbook of your parents or the guardians. And coincidentally, the biggest time where kids actually drop from sports. So here's a tip. During this time, give your kids a schedule. Something that they can follow. All the great athletes and esports athletes out there have a schedule that they follow. And be sure they understand the difference from gaming and just playing around to actually training for something. So they have something that they can really buckle down and look forward to and go after. And as parents, we know at this age also that they are going to want to get a job eventually, or they want to go to school and maybe play that sport at their school. So I recommend go to a tech company in your city and set up a tour so that your kid can go to that company and see what it would be like to work there. And the same thing for a school. If your kid is really looking to play a sport at a school, take them to that school and show them around the area. Show them the school inside, outside, and help them get excited about that. So there you have it. The 3 stages in a sporty kid and a gamer kid's life. It's first stage, the sampling stage. Second, specialization. And third, the commitment stage. Thank you very much. And please remember, sporty kid and gamer kid, guide to connect, not judge or reject.
Thanks, Steve. I think we can all agree that having fun is the most important aspect of sports. Steve lives in Lindell Beach, where he runs the website Game Plans for Dads, and where he helps men to step up, man up, and dad up. Taylor Aller is a small-town girl with big heart dreams. She will share how she went from crying in her PJs and binge-watching YouTube to becoming a 6-figure entrepreneur and show you how you can too. As someone who is passionate about more than one thing, she will speak candidly about living in a world designed for singularly passionate folks. Here is Taylor Aller.
Hi, I'm Taylor, and I'm a multi-potentialite. My resume looks like it could belong to about 14 different people. In the past, I've worked decorating cakes in a bakery. I've worked with kids with disabilities in schools. I've worked as a hairstylist, semi-professional hip-hop dancer, relationship expert, and 6-figure entrepreneur. Are you still with me? Because currently I work in British Columbia as a registered massage therapist, college educator, speaker, and consultant. I'm a multi-potentialite to the core. Now you might be wondering, what's a multi-potentialite? This is a term coined by fellow TED Talker Emily Wapnick, and it means simply this: someone who's passionate about more than one thing. I want to ask you, are you passionate about more than one thing? Is there a time where you wanted an and more than an or? Or maybe somebody judged you for doing both or too much? Or maybe it was just tactically really hard to fit all of the things that you're into a traditional calendar. Yeah, if you're nodding along, well, my friend, you might be a multi-potentialite too. I'm here to tell you how I went from crying in my PJs to a 6-figure entrepreneur while following my multiple passions. And while that sounds fun and easy, it's kind of not. You see, following a life with multiple passions can often lead to frustration and confusion. It requires you to challenge the ideals of success and live way outside the box. This can be very hard. But today I'm going to share with you some strategies that will hopefully get your mind turning in a new way to make this success possible for you too. So let's get to it. Picture this. I had sludged home from what felt like a forever hour day, trying to cram all of my passions into a 24-hour period. And I was exhausted. And I can't even remember how I went from my work clothes to my comfy PJs. And you know these PJs. They're the ones that are super worn and kind of ratty, but so soft, and they feel like butter. And they may or may not have some holes in them. Yeah, those PJs. And I was doing what I usually did to cope with my stress and pain. And that was binge watch YouTube. Now, I'm kind of joking about this, but in all honesty, I was approaching burnout. I was having trouble eating anything because I had digestive issues. I was struggling with sleep because I was battling anxiety. I was broke because while I was pursuing all my passions, I was racking up expenses and debt like crazy. And the worst part, I was having an identity crisis. I was keeping so many parts of me separate that it was exhausting and I was burnt out. So I went down the YouTube rabbit hole and I was there with the cat videos and the satisfying art compilations. And I came across a video that stopped me in my tracks. And I was bawling, like ugly crying, snot everywhere, bawling. Because watching this video, I had an epiphany. Let me tell you about it. In this video, it was Elizabeth Gilbert, the author. She wrote Eat, Pray, Love, among many other works. And she was sharing how she delivered a speech and got some feedback after that speech from one of the audience members. And that speech shook her to the core. You see, Liz's speech was all about inspiration and finding your passion, pursuing it relentlessly, and having success. According to Liz, if you find that one thing that lights you up from the inside, that keeps you awake every single night, that sets your ribs on fire, if you find that one thing, pursue it relentlessly, you'll be great. And the feedback she got from one of these guests was the furthest thing from inspiration. In a nutshell, this guest told Liz, "Hey Liz, I came to your show because I needed something, anything to give me hope. You see, I'm in my late 40s and I've been trying to find my passion. And you think if this thing kept me awake every single night, set my ribs on fire, lit me up from the inside out, I would have found it by now. But I follow this thing and then I don't get that interested. And then I follow this other thing and then that doesn't really work out. And then I follow this other thing and it's not working. I left your show feeling worse than when I came. Thanks, bye." Whoa, right? Liz, like any of us would be, was kind of shocked by that feedback, and it caused her to pause and reflect and look at those around her. And she realized something. You see, Liz knew from a very young age that she wanted to be a writer. Everything she did was in the service of writing. She would waitress so she could write. She would do all these things just so that she could write. She had one singular passion and interest. However, those around her were nothing like that. Her husband at the time had lived and traveled all over the globe, had many different businesses, and an incredible personal life. He adored his children from a previous marriage. Her then best friend, who became her partner before she passed away, had an incredible life story that includes going from a drug addiction to selling high-end real estate in New York City. You see, these people around her, they didn't have a singular passion. They had many. In this moment, Liz realized there's two types of people in the world. There are jackhammers and there are hummingbirds. Liz, as I'm sure you can guess, is a jackhammer. These are people who are specialists and experts. They have an incredible depth of knowledge in one field, mastery of a certain skill. Hummingbirds are people like those around her. They have many different interests. Instead of having an incredible depth of knowledge, they have a vast breadth of knowledge. They're sitting on a mountain range of life experiences and half degrees and started businesses and successful businesses, etc., etc. These are people she looked to for advice and admired. These are people who followed their curiosity and traveled along the world and cross-pollinated along the way. So back to ugly crying. I'm sitting there bawling and sobbing because I realized something in that moment. I am a hummingbird. I'm a hummingbird. Oh my God, I'm a hummingbird. I finally had a term to describe how I felt and who I was. And I got really excited. So I called my husband, because that's what I do when I get really excited. And he picked up the phone and I'm sobbing and I go, babe, I'm a hummingbird. I'm a hummingbird. He's on the other end of the line, probably totally confused, going, okay, if you're a bird, I'm a bird, right? Like the Notebook thing? Is that what you're looking for? So not quite. But when I calmed the snot and the tears enough to tell him what I meant, he said, no, babe, you're not a hummingbird. You're a hummingbird with a jackhammer. Because if you get to know me well, you'll know that I follow my passions relentlessly. I just have many of them. I'm here to tell you some strategies, and I can't wait to get to them, to show you how success is possible for multi-potentialites like us. But before I do, I have to tell you some magic and some truth. Because success to me before was only reserved for people with singular passions. Only for the experts, only for the specialists, only for those who check the box. But what about people like me? What about the multi-potentialites who kind of don't check a box, who kind of doodle all over the box? Or people, again, like me, who need 7 different boxes to check off? Where is the version of success for us? This epiphany led me to realize I needed to change the definition of success. I had to shift it from depth to breadth. Because the success I had in my mind was depth, the success that's reserved for those who check the box, that requires us to stuff ourselves into this tiny cube, to cut off parts of ourselves to fit. But if we can shift success to breadth, it can move and change with us. It can follow along our curiosity. It can travel with us as we are dynamic and shift and grow. If we can have that shift from depth to breadth, this version of success is possible. This requires us to throw the box away. Now remember, I was burnt out. I had done everything I could to keep all of me separate, and I couldn't do it anymore. I was keeping relationship project Taylor over here, and massage therapist Taylor over here, and creative Taylor over here, and hip hop dancer Taylor over here, and I was done. I couldn't do it anymore. I said a big F it to the box that we as multi-potentialites feel forced into, the box that makes us feel like no matter how hard we try, we're always failing. Because here's the thing, that box is not meant for us. We multi-potentialites, we're supposed to redefine it. And we can redefine it over and over if we want to. So let me ask you, what's your version of success? Does it look like following your curiosity? Does it look like changing your career? Again? Does it look like building out a rich personal life to balance your professional life? Or does it look like following multiple passions, but without the YouTube crying PJs moment? Yeah, success is possible for us, but there's some magic and some truth. Here's the magic. You can do anything. I believe most people can do almost anything they want to in this lifetime. But here's the truth. You can't do it all at once, and you can't do it by yourself. I'm going to say that again because it's really important. You can do anything, just not all at once and not by yourself. But don't just take my word for it. There have been many successful multi-potentialites, and it is possible for you too. And I'm up here talking about it, and you know my resume could belong to 14 different people, but there's been many of us, and you probably know some of them. Did you know that Julia Child was a multi-potentialite? She was a French culinary wizard and also a government spy. Or what about Albert Einstein? While he developed mathematical theories that inarguably changed our world, he also worked full-time at the post office. Or what about Steve Jobs, who fundamentally changed the world of tech, who went to school to study Western history and dance, not tech and computers? You see, success is possible for people like us multi-potentialites. Now, let me ask you, what are your passions? What lights you up? And can success encompass all of those things? I'm going to share with you some strategies that are adapted from Emily Wapnick's book, How to Be Everything, along with a perspective shift that truly changed my life. The first, slasher. This is living your life in a whole bunch of part-time capacities that allows you to pursue your multiple passions. This/this/this. As an example, me. I'm a registered massage therapist / college educator / consultant. Or the second one, Spider-Man. This is Peter Parker by day, Spider-Man by night. This is working in a full-time capacity that allows you to moonlight in your off hours, exploring your passions. An example, one of the clients I consult with one-to-one. She is a certified holistic nutritionist, and in her off hours, she's a wedding planner. Or what about the seasonal phoenix? Think about your life in seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. And it can be a year, it could be 10 years, it could be your whole lifetime. All of that is acceptable. And it's living your life in that seasonal capacity to encompass all your passions. Here's a couple examples. Think about a school teacher. All through the school year, she's teaching. And in the summer, exploring her passion of being a boat touring guide. Or another one of my clients is a startup specialist. She builds a business around her passion, spends 1 to 2 years scaling it, and then sells that business for profit to rise from the ashes like an incredible phoenix and do it all over again. The last one, option D, all of the above. Because yes, as multi-potentialites, we need to have a hybrid. It's totally normal and actually amazing if you take a little bit of everything and create a perfect fit exactly right for you. Now, this perspective shift I'm going to share truly changed my life, and it's this. Your life is a puzzle. If you were to look at my life, for example, you'll see it's made up of tiny little pieces. My life, my passions, heck, even me as a person, are these tiny puzzle pieces that click in and out. And those of us with multiple passions, our puzzle can kind of look like this. Puzzle pieces everywhere. A little disjointed, a lot chaotic, kind of so busy we're not really going anywhere. But if we can take the time to click these in and out and experiment, narrow in on these puzzle pieces and focus, you'll start to see a masterpiece come alive. With intentional timing and getting some help, you can click these puzzle pieces in and out with your unique puzzle pieces. Because remember, you can do anything you want, just not all at once and not by yourself. And all of a sudden, things will click together and become magic. You see, those of us with multiple passions, they're often so unique and so diverse. Often they're not even related. And when they click together in this way, that's where the magic happens. That's where creativity and innovation lie. Your unique intersections are where the next app will be created, the next thing will be invented. That is where the next great idea will be shared. In your unique intersections, where those things click in and out is where the fireworks happen. Before I go, I want to give you a few reminders. The first, embrace your multi-potentialism. You are built this way, and you're built exactly right. Your unique intersections, I need you to find them and shout them from the rooftops. The world needs to hear it. Throw away the box. It's okay. The second, pace yourself. It's going to be so easy to run yourself into the ground. But don't do it, okay? Remember, you can do anything you want, just not all at once. So be strategic, maybe with some of the strategies that we talked about earlier. Go slow and give yourself the time you need and factor in your mental health. The last, collaborate. That person beside you is not your greatest competition. They're your greatest opportunity for collaboration. Be available as a champion to them and allow them to champion you, because we're not meant to go through this alone. In fact, in most cases, you can't. We can do anything we want, not all at once, and not by ourselves. So get comfortable asking for help and receiving it. Okay, one more thing. If you've been nodding along and thinking, yeah, I'm a multi-potentialite, I want to tell you, you're in really great company. Welcome to the club. It's time for you to get clear and get going. Throw the box away, create your own puzzle of success. And if no one has told you lately, I believe in you. Thank you.
Great job, Taylor. Taylor is a registered massage therapist, educator, and speaker from Surrey who enjoys outdoor life with her small family. She is a former hip-hop dancer who toured Spain and was named Mrs. British Columbia in 2018-2019.
Carrie DeYoung is a therapist, consultant, and writer with over 20 years of clinical experience working in trauma treatment programs, residential addiction treatment, and private practice. She is an avid learner of neurobiology and body-centered approaches to therapy. Tonight, she will tell us about one of our least known senses, interoception. Here's Carrie DeYoung.
Did you ever play this game as a kid? If you could have any superpower, which one would you want? Would you want to be fast like the Flash, strong like Wonder Woman, have X-ray vision like Superman? It's always fun to imagine what it would be like to have a superpower. But what if I told you you actually have a real-life superpower, one that you've probably never even heard of? It won't turn us into a real-life superhero. Still, this real-life superpower does have the capacity to make us better humans. Let me introduce you to interoception, our least known and least understood sensory system. While it won't make us faster or stronger or capable of seeing through concrete, although those things sound like fun, I don't think they necessarily make us better humans. Instead, I think the qualities that make us better humans are qualities like empathy, resilience, good emotional regulation, and mental health. I think these things would be better than a lasso of truth any day. We all know about our sense of smell or our sense of sight, senses that help us perceive what's going on in the world around us. Interoception is that capacity to pick up the senses of what's going on the inside of our body. Have you ever given any thought to how you notice hunger or thirst? Interoception is that power, that capacity to pick up those cues that tell us we're thirsty or we're hungry. The vagus nerve is the main pathway for this information. And the vagus nerve is this really complex nerve system that connects our brain to all of these different internal organs. These are only some of the parts of our body that are connected to our brain through the vagus nerve. Vagus is Latin for wanderer. And we can see that this nerve system is aptly named given how much of our body is connected here. Vagus nerve, one of the important things about this nerve is that 80% of the messages sent through the vagus nerve move in this direction, from our bodies to our brains, not the other way around. In fact, the primary job of the vagus nerve is to tell our brain what's happening here inside our bodies. Interoceptive awareness is the ability to pick up these sensation cues. And researchers have told us that some people are better at this than others. One of the ways they've determined that is through tests like the heartbeat perception test. So they ask people to count the number of heartbeats they have in a given period of time using only their internal sensations as a guide. And they've discovered that some people are really accurate at being able to count their heartbeat, while some people are not. Interoception operates largely outside of our conscious awareness, and it's our ability to pick up and notice these cues that help us regulate our physical bodies. We see this in the way that we manage food and thirst and how we manage sleep. But this real-life superpower isn't just about managing our physical bodies. That's only the beginning. In fact, this real-life superpower helps us by shaping our emotions and our thought process. Most of us think that emotions start here in our thinking brain. What if I told you that emotion really starts here in our physical bodies? And that neuroscientists are trying to understand the way our brain uses physical sensations as clues about the emotions we're feeling. We intuitively know that emotion and physical sensations are tied together. We see this in the language we already use about emotions. My heart skipped a beat. I have a lump in my throat. I have butterflies in my stomach. We already have language that pairs sensation and emotion. Different emotions produce different sensations. Anger feels different than joy. Frustration feels different than anxiety. And we're meant to be able to pick up these subtle differences, or not so subtle differences sometimes, and they give us information about the emotion that we're feeling. And particularly for the challenging emotions like anxiety or frustration, we're meant to use these cues and physical sensations as information that helps us know what's going on so that we can practice emotional regulation tools. We can do something to manage this state that we're experiencing. And interoception doesn't just help us with our own emotion, it also helps us pick up and experience the emotions of others, something we call empathy. This ability to feel what other people are feeling. And interoception is one of the ways that we pick up and share emotions as humans. And interoception isn't even just about emotions. It also gives us information that helps us know ourselves, that helps us have a sense of self-awareness. We learn things about what we like and dislike with the interoceptive cues that we receive. You've probably never given much idea about the way you know which flavor of ice cream you prefer. When there are 30 to choose from, how do you know which one is the right one to pick? Well, a craving for Rocky Road or anything else really happens through interoception and the cues that our body is giving. Likewise, the enjoyment of that also is about an interoceptive cue. We're meant to see and have an experience of something we like and enjoy and feel it here in our body. And if interoception helps us know what flavor of ice cream we like, it's also going to help us with more important things like, who am I attracted to? What kind of person? What kind of career interests me? Where would I like to live? You can see from all of these different things that I've expressed about what interoception does, this superpower does so much to help us be amazingly healthy human beings. It helps us feel it helps us regulate our physical body. It helps us experience our emotions and regulate it. It helps us with empathy. It helps us have a sense of knowing ourselves and self-awareness. We truly are fearfully and wonderfully made. Can you see why I would give up being faster than a speeding bullet for this? I might be out of a job as a therapist, but I know the world would be a much kinder place. And just as I've talked about the great things that interoception does for us, it's also important to talk about the places of challenge for people. What happens for people for whom connecting with their physical bodies is difficult? And that happens very often for people. Autism spectrum disorders and mental health challenges like anxiety or depression, or substance use, or disordered eating, or post-traumatic stress disorder. These challenges all share one thing: difficulty with interoceptive awareness. These people all report challenges picking up on their sensation cues, feeling them, expressing their emotions, identifying their emotions, or regulating their emotions. Let me give you some examples. People with depression report a real lack of positive emotions. Instead, they experience emotional numbness and a lack of ability to pick up anything that's going on in their physical bodies. On the other hand, there are people that are really good at picking up their internal sensations, perhaps a little too good. And this would be true for people who experience anxiety disorders or who have a trauma history. For these people, their own physical sensations are often a source of anxiety or panic. Or they're also more likely to misinterpret their sensations and think they mean something that they don't, which only increases their anxiety. I want to return for a moment to the superpower analogy. And just like kryptonite rendered Superman powerless, we have our own versions of kryptonite. We live in a modern world that takes us out of our physical bodies. Stress, sedentary lifestyles, substance use, unhealthy food choices, endless scrolling on digital platforms. We humans do a lot of things to take us out of our physical bodies. We sit too much. We exercise too hard or not enough. We don't sleep when we're tired. We eat when we're not hungry. And we binge on far too many things. By the way, animals in the wild don't do this. And here's a really important fact. If we're not managing our physical bodies, then we're not managing our mental health or our emotional health either. I recognize that conversations about a deeper connection with our body is very uncomfortable for some people, especially those with anxiety or an experience of trauma. But connecting with our body is such an important way that we have clarity about ourselves, about our emotions, about what we want and what we like. And so now more than ever, we need tools that help us connect with our bodies and listen to the messages that it gives us. So what works? What helps us build a better connection with our body and listen to the valuable messages that it tells us? The great news is there are lots of things. We can start with learning about the vagus nerve. This powerhouse nerve system does so many things that help facilitate us being healthier people. It helps us manage our own emotions and connection with other people. It helps bring states of relaxation, and it manages so many things in our physical body. And besides learning about the vagus nerve, we can actually start engaging in practices that help us connect with our bodies even in small ways. Mindfulness is one of the ways we can do this. And mindfulness simply is a practice of being where your feet are, of being present in this moment to what is around me, to what it feels like to sit on the chair that I'm sitting. What does it feel like to take a deep breath? What does it feel like to taste the food that I'm eating right now, and having a moment just where we notice and enjoy a little bit more of a connection with the sensations in our physical bodies. Besides mindfulness, there are many practices that are body-centered that we can engage in. There are a number of therapeutic approaches that are grounded in helping people who struggle with interoceptive awareness learn how to tolerate and build a comfort level there. Somatic psychotherapies and trauma-informed yoga are two of them. So I've given lots of ideas about how we can connect our brains and our bodies in different ways, and some of the reasons why this is so important, especially now. We all could use more tools to help us be healthier people. I hope that I have encouraged you to be curious about how you can embrace your inner superhero. I know you will be healthier for it.
So what happens in Vegas affects your whole body. Despite never having studied acting, Carrie teaches and coaches actors how to embody a role rather than simply act.
45% of British Columbians aged 16 to 65 have difficulty in accomplishing some daily living tasks due in part to limited literacy skills. Debbie Deneau will share with us how literacy affects all of us every day. Here's Debbie Deneau.
Let's talk about literacy. It's really important. Your literacy levels affect my quality of life. My literacy levels affect your quality of life. I've worked in the literacy field for 15 years, and I've learned that we don't necessarily understand what the term literacy means, and we don't know how to recognize the challenges that people have. So let's do some learning. I'll define the term literacy, show you some examples of what literacy challenges can look like in a grocery store and a coffee shop, and then offer you a way of looking at situations through a literacy and learning lens. So literacy, the term literacy, refers to our ability to take in, understand, and use information. Our literacies are the basic building blocks we need to have in place in order to learn more. In communities where literacy levels go up, poverty rates go down. People with higher literacy skills are more employable and tend to stay in employment positions longer. People with higher literacy skills tend to be more confident and have a greater self-esteem. In British Columbia, approximately 45% of adults between the ages of 16 and 65 struggle to carry out their everyday tasks in part due to literacy. So let's take a look at how literacy affects our quality of life in a grocery store. Please picture yourself going to a store, and on this particular day, you're in a bit of a hurry. But go in, go through the aisles, pick up the items you need, and then please proceed to the self-checkout. At this point, you're at the self-checkout, and your quality of life is pretty good. You've gone in, you have what you want, and you haven't been held up yet. The literacy skills that you've used while you were shopping included reading, math, financial literacy, maybe some problem solving. And in the self-checkout, you're going to use visual literacy skills. So visual literacy refers to our ability to take in, understand, and use information from a graphic form. So it could be from images, actually. And so it could be pictures or graphics. So that's what you're going to use in the self-checkout. Oh, you're still standing in the self-checkout line all this time while I've been talking? Something's slowing you down. Maybe you're feeling not quite so happy all of a sudden once you realize that you've been slowed down by a person. You can see that a person is taking a long time to check out groceries. So all of a sudden, that person is affecting your quality of life in a negative kind of way. And I'm going to suggest that that person was slowing you down because of literacy. So let's reframe this. Let's look at it a different way. When we can see situations where people are learning, it's an opportunity to celebrate. It's an opportunity to recognize that perhaps that person is doing something for the first time. Perhaps that person is checking out produce for the first time. Perhaps that person doesn't have strong visual literacy skills, and it takes them longer to learn what they're learning. If we stand in that line and say, "Oh, somebody is learning something, then maybe we could give that person the gift of patience and understanding and time. So let's go to the coffee shop. In the coffee shop, you have the same situation where you're standing in line for what you consider to be longer than what would be comfortable. And it turns out in this particular case, the people that are delaying the line appear to be having a lengthy conversation. That was me at the front of the line, and that was my friend telling me what sandwiches the coffee shop had, because I can't read the menus when they're on walls. We don't always know what we're looking at. We don't always know what the situations are. You can't tell that I'm legally blind and that I own a white cane. That particular day, I asked for help at the coffee shop, and I said to the person working behind the counter, I have a visual impairment. Can you tell me what sandwiches you have? And the person pointed to the wall and said, the sandwiches are here on the wall. That was not helpful. My quality of life went down quite quickly in that way for that moment. And it took me quite some time to figure out what was going on there, why the person wasn't able to be helpful to me. And in the long run, I believe it's a literacy and learning story. The person's first language was not English. They were learning English. I used a formal term, visual impairment. And I knew that the person's first language was not English before I got to the counter. So it would have been kinder for me to say something like, I don't see well. Can you tell me if you have a vegetable sandwich? Or I could have just said, can you tell me if you have a vegetable sandwich? And that would have made it easier for that person. So in the long run, to sum up, our literacy levels affect each other. You can't always tell what situations you're looking at. You can't always tell when people are struggling. If you assume that literacy and learning is going on a good percentage of the time, that's something to celebrate. That improves your quality of life, and it improves quality of life of the people who are slowing you down. Thank you.
Thank you for that important message, Debbie. Debbie was Chilliwack's Literacy Outreach Coordinator with the Chilliwack Learning Society for many years. And despite being legally blind, during the pandemic, Debbie learned how to throw axes and to make lemon pie filling from scratch.
Before we wrap up tonight, we're going to do a draw for 2 tickets to TEDxChilliwack 2023. Anyone that's registered for tonight's show is entered in this draw. Earlier this evening, we pulled from our virtual hat, and our winner is Karen Slingerland. Karen will contact you next week to arrange to get your tickets. Let's give special thanks to Tim McAlpine, working in the booth here at Studio C at Cowork Chilliwack tonight, controlling the lighting, sound, shooting the video, and making Michael and I look fabulous.
We'd like to thank our other partners as well. Without them, we couldn't put on TEDxChilliwack. Thank you to Visionary Partners, Currency Marketing, Cowork Chilliwack, Scott McVetti of Remax NIDA Realty, Chill TV, and the 18th Camel. If you'd like to become a partner for next year, please speak to a member of our organizing committee or sign up on our website. And of course, the main reason many of us here today was to hear from our fantastic speakers. They've shared their ideas with you, and I know they hope you'll take action after hearing their ideas.
But none of this would have happened today without our organizing committee. Michael Berger,
Mary Erickson,
Kim Gemmel,
Steve Hamilton Clark,
Barris Carden,
Tim McAlpine,
Carlene McVetti,
Scott McVetti,
Nathan O'Hara,
Trevor O'Rourke,
and Allison Seal. And believe it or not, we're already planning for TEDxChilliwack 2023. Our plan is to go back to an in-person event at the Chilliwack Cultural Center on April the 23rd, 2023.
We're always looking for more people who want to help out. If you're interested in helping, please go to the volunteer page on our website.
I'm excited about next year already. Look for more details in the fall and keep an eye on our website and social media pages. We'll post all the details as they are finalized.
Thank you all for viewing at home on the live stream. We hope you enjoyed the evening. Good night.